Mike Sierra one
can't handle the truth.
You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this?
I am authorized to assure you these rumors are based on hysteria and are absolutely false. I repeat, these rumors are absolutely false.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining me once again as I take another look into the relentless lies of Mike Zeroh. When it comes to updates, they are generally seen as a progression, something being moved forward. But in Zeroh's case, updates are just previously used pieces of information that hold truer to their past iterations. They are stagnant, unchanged and recycled, so by definition cannot be classed as updated in any way. In one of Zeroh's recent videos, he claimed that Tatiana Maslany was telling fans to shut it. Needless to say, there are absolutely no interviews online of her saying this anywhere, but it serves to just hold up the Zeroh narrative, and that's to keep your subscribers angry. This is just one of many videos Zeroh has made that have had a woman tell the fans that your views aren't worth anything, and you're basically a bunch of loud opinionated man-babies that can't stand a woman being in a lead role of a TV show or film. It doesn't matter how you feel about these individuals, but what should matter is how it just so happens that everyone Zeroh needs you to be angry with are all the people that fans hate, and they're all doing the same thing, i.e. giving the fans a hard time. Over the past few months, after what has been deemed a failure in regards to interviews, TV and film flops, Zeroh wheels out the guilty to be ostracized by the fandoms that apply. Without any proof yet again, Zeroh just echoes the past times he has claimed someone has called the fans a loud minority within a fandom that didn't like what they heard or saw. Brie Larson, Kathleen Kennedy, Rachel Zegler, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Jada Pinkett Smith, Amber Heard and Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy all have repeated the same mantra across numerous Zeroh videos. But not only have these women been vocal about the fans, but they have also all suffered the same fate when it comes to being removed from other projects Zeroh claims are going ahead. After the Marvels, Brie Larson was removed from other Marvel-related projects that no one else talks about, and projects that seem to contradict the so-called cost containment plan by Bob Iger. Brie is the only actress afflicted by this problem, even though there are other people in this movie, namely Teyonah Parris and Iman Vellani. Iman actually mentioned Bob Iger in an interview at one point, but she said, and rightly so, that problems about poor attendance in the movie theaters are not her concern. She just made a film, and things like that need to be looked at by people like Bob Iger and the rest of Disney. Every other woman I have mentioned previously has also undergone some form of removal from projects that were up and coming. Even Kathleen Kennedy of all people. Other stars in the same films have been less vocal and not fired from any follow-up projects, only the ones fans hate. Are you starting to see this pattern yet? It doesn't matter if it's a TV show or film, if it's poorly received, then the fans are blamed for the show or film's downfall. This in turn sparks the stars getting angry, which forces Disney or Lucasfilm to remove these stars from projects that were never going to happen in the first place. It's all done under the guise of cost containment, but if the cost containment was a thing, then why bother announcing a TV show or film if there's no money to make it in the first place? The real truth is that Zeroh needs something to keep his channel going, so he makes up the content he needs. For example, the Snow White follow-up films to the remake, which is now said to be coming in 2025. He had a film about the Queen, a film about the dwarfs and a film about Snow White pre-remake, all of which have now been stopped, because they were never real in the first place. And also note that since the pushback for the film, everything about Rachel Zegler has now stopped, because she isn't relevant anymore, and only when someone is relevant are the fake stories forthcoming. Of course this could change given Zegler's recent comments about Star Wars, so I wouldn't be surprised that Zeroh will tell all and sundry that she was turned down for a part in The Acolyte or the new Rey movie. The same can be said of Waller-Bridge and how she was removed from follow-ups to The Dial of Destiny and voiceover work as a droid in another undisclosed Star Wars project. But it wasn't going to be L337 but a completely different droid for people to get angry about. But once again, as soon as the heat died down around Indiana Jones, the projects were then cancelled and Phoebe Waller-Bridge was no longer a talking point. Jada Pinkett Smith had her moment to shine when she was promoting her new book. Zeroh had a field day with her, saying how she too was blacklisted from studios working with her, removed from projects including voiceover work for the Lion King Mufasa movie, as well as other stuff from Disney. By extension, Will Smith suffered the same fate as his wife, being blacklisted from films and projects that do not get spoken about now, because they are not relevant anymore. Even the interview Zeroh said was coming with Howard Stern at the end of December 2023 hasn't happened with Jada, and here we are now heading toward the end of January.
Is that Bob Iger recently greenlit a plan to completely cancel Ryan Reynolds from a total of 5 Marvel-related projects that have consisted of movies and/or television shows that have now been finalized to no longer involve Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, some of which were completely axed as a result of all of this, in a series of untitled movies and MCU-related TV shows for Disney+, was by firing and removing Ryan Reynolds from various projects that he was supposed to take part in as a co-writer for the Marvel Universe by Marvel Studios. This involves projects for both Marvel Phase 6 and Phase 7, for mutant-era content that was going to involve Deadpool in various ways. And though Ryan still remains active with Deadpool 3, the plan by Disney right now is that this will be his last project for the MCU and for Disney, as they removed Reynolds from a total of 4 projects that were going to be major films that would actually deal with the mutants in some way, shape, or form.
It's uncanny, isn't it, that we are now allegedly hearing future updated information surrounding a completely different person who is seemingly unlike those we have already looked at, and yet they too are suffering the same sets of circumstances as everyone else. With Snow White, it was this picture that launched a metric ton of Zeroh videos, and it was this picture that has now caused so many alleged problems with Deadpool 3. Once again, Zeroh has applied the past to the present and called it an update, when clearly it isn't, because the circumstances and similarities are all too familiar from what has transpired before to be anything other than a copy of faked information that has now been glued to someone else who is relevant, a point I hope you're beginning to see.
Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, already creating more trouble for the Star Wars brand. Recent drama has been happening behind the scenes after she was fired from numerous projects by the Disney heads and only left with the Rey movie project standing. As it turns out, in a recent meeting that happened between the Lucasfilm Story Group, Kathleen Kennedy, and the Disney heads, when Disney pushed the move to fire and remove Charmin from both The Acolyte Season 2, a new untitled Star Wars film, and the James Mangold Star Wars movie featuring the birth of the Force and the First of the Order, along with the Star Wars series that would lead up to the Rey Star Wars movie featuring new Force users.
Chinoy is just another who has befell the wrath of Disney, and she too has been removed from projects known and unknown because Zeroh said so. This included Series 2 of The Acolyte, way before the first has even dropped, but he has laid that up for his future updates, so he can basically talk about that until he is blue in the face. So many people can't seem to connect the dots when it comes to what Zeroh tells you, but to me it's so obvious that these updates are nothing more than regurgitated lies just to keep the channel going with the drama it needs. It doesn't matter who's in the crosshairs, they have all been treated in the same way, and that's far too much of a coincidence, more so when it boils down to being removed from something no one knows about, and will never see the light of day, so can't be proven as being fake until a good time later, and by then it's all too late. Well, that's all I have for today, but by way of a change I'm going to leave you with a deleted clip from the original TV show Battlestar Galactica, only because the Imperious Leader sounds so much like DoomCock, which caught me a little off guard, but still funny nevertheless. Until the next time, take care and I'll see you again soon.
It has been 7 centons, and not one word of the humans. What have you to report, Centurion?
Nothing has been heard of the humans.
Their provisions will sooner or later force them to land within our star system. We will be watching and listening and waiting.